Hi everybody, this is Dave Barnett with Attract Capital. Today we're having a webinar to talk about how to evaluate a term sheet from a lender so you get the best deal and you can close on time. Most people, when they get term sheets from their lenders, think it's just about calculating dollars and cents of the interest rate and the fees. But what you really need to do is you need to vet the term sheets to make sure that you have a lender that can close. And there's three angles that you need to look at in order to be able to vet that lender. Because in our experience, it's all about getting to the close quickly with the most amount of money. That is what is going to make you successful over the long term. So the three major areas of term sheet analysis that you should be focused on are costs of the financing, the form of the term sheet, and the approval process of the lender. So costs, form, and approval process. So what do we mean by costs? Well, costs simply are just the interest rates and the fees and any third-party costs that are involved in the financing. But what it also means is, what is it's not just the cost that you're going to pay, but it's what you're going to get. It's assessing the value of that amount of funding that you're going to get from the lender. So if you have one lender that's going to give you $5 million, but you have another lender that's going to give you $7 million, that extra $2 million is worth a lot more to you because that's incremental funding capacity on the margin. So that has a much higher value. So if you're getting more money, it's higher value, you don't need to focus as much on the interest rate and the fees and the other third-party costs because you're going to be able to get where you need to go with that extra money. In our experience, it's not necessarily the cost of the money, the interest rate and the fees, that determines the success or failure of your acquisition. It's, do you have enough money? You need to have enough money to make the acquisition and to execute the business plan. So the cost and the value are the two very important considerations when evaluating the term sheet. Don't confuse the two. The second is the form of the term sheet. We've been doing this for about 25 years. We've seen, I want to say, at least 10 different forms. There's short forms, there's non-binding forms, there's medium forms, there's long forms, there's term sheets that have a signature page at the end where the person you've been dealing with actually executes, and there's a place for you to execute. Then there's term sheets that are more summary of terms that are indicative. So there's a whole hodgepodge of different forms. But what you need to do with the form is you need to look at it and say, the more formal the term sheet, the more serious the lender is in their interest in your deal. If it's a short form, non-binding, half a page, they're probably not very serious. The longer the form, the more serious the lender. So the form is very important. So in addition to the cost and the value in the form, the final piece here is the approval process. You need to use the term sheet as a way to ask questions of the lending officer that gave it to you about their internal process. How many people approved the term sheet? What is their process for getting approval? Who are the decision makers? Where do those decision makers sit? Do they sit in the office from the relationship person that issued you the term sheet, or are they scattered throughout the country? Do they have a flexible approval process? Or do they meet once a week? Do they meet once a month? So understanding their approval process and getting your arms around how supported this transaction is in the early stages is very, very key to gaining comfort that the lender will sustain their focus and be able to get to a closing. So in summary, you really want to look at the cost, you want to look at the interest rate, you want to look at the fees. But you also want to look at the value and the amount of money that lender is going to give you. You want to look at the form to see how credible it is, because that's a manifestation of how committed to the deal and to getting to the finish line that the lender is. And thirdly, you want to vet their internal process that issued the term sheet and the subsequent approval process that the lender has to go through to get to the finish. Because when you're trying to get a deal done, it's all about time and it's all about money. And the last thing you want to do is go through 3 months of agony with a lender and not to get to a closing. When you have a failed deal, it's a pretty tough thing to deal with. So remember, focus on the time, focus on the money, vet your term sheets, and pick the right lenders. Take care, everybody.